Do you have a plan to keep your business making money while you're on maternity leave? Enough to cover expenses and still pay yourself? 80% of self-employed women in the U.S. can't afford to take full maternity leave, and most don't even realize they have options beyond just saving money. But here's the truth. You can take time off without stressing about lost income. It just takes the right plan. Hi, I'm Christina Hall, six-figure business owner and mom of two. I took 2 4-month maternity leaves, and during that time, my business not only survived, but it grew and continued to pay me while I soaked in those precious moments with my babies. And I'm here to help you do the same. Many self-employed women focus on saving money to afford maternity leave, and while that is certainly a useful method, it doesn't set you up for after the baby is born. If you save enough to take maternity leave and then have to return to work full-time in 3 months, go back to working the same crazy hours you were working before you were a mom, that is not going to be good. But there's a better way to do this. Today, I'm going to teach you 6 simple, no-fluff steps to financially prepare for maternity leave so you can step away with confidence, cover all of your expenses, and still get paid. All right. Step 1 is to visualize your maternity leave. Now, if possible, this is great to do before you even get pregnant. But of course, if you're pregnant now, that's obviously not possible. Think through exactly what you want your leave to look like. How much time do you want to take off? Do you want a full break, or do you want to work in some capacity? As someone who has done this twice, I'm going to recommend that you give yourself more time than you think you'll need. When I had my first baby, I thought I'd be able to oversee a lot and still be involved in the day-to-day operations of the business. But those first few weeks postpartum were really difficult. I didn't feel like myself. I was so exhausted and trying to figure out how to shower and eat while taking care of a newborn, let alone how to find time to check in via email. At about 6 weeks postpartum, I thought I could go back in a limited capacity, so I decided to sub for one of my teachers. But to be honest, the whole time I was there, my mind was somewhere else. But it was just a little too early for me, and my heart wasn't in it. And that's not me, because all of the years that I've taught, when I was at the studio, it was all I could think about and all I could focus on. If I was having a bad day and then I'd go to the studio and start teaching, it would take me right out of my funk. It was something that I really loved to do, and it was just really bizarre because when I was there, I just felt like my heart wasn't in it, and all I could think about was my daughter and how I just wanted to be home with her and if she was okay. You're going to have that no matter when you return to work, but there was something about it being so soon and her still being so young that made me feel like I just wasn't ready. So I highly recommend you plan to give yourself more time than you think you need. So for me, I was really fortunate that I had set up my business in a way where I could fully unplug for the rest of my leave. So I really built in a lot of flexibility, which was crucial for me. You won't know exactly how you'll feel until you're in it. So as odd as this sounds, plan for the unexpected. Give yourself as much time and flexibility as you can because it'll just make your life so much easier. You could always return to work sooner if you're no, I really feel ready for this. I really want to go back. That's totally an option. Once you have a clear idea of what you want your maternity leave to look like, now it's time to move on to step 2, which is doing a financial analysis. Now, I know not everyone loves the numbers the way that I do. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I love looking at this stuff. But trust me, this step is non-negotiable. If you hate looking at your financials, I want you to listen closely right now. Knowledge is power. So if you know your numbers, you can take control. You can do something about them. But if you ignore them, expenses will sneak up on you, and that's the last thing you want when you're on maternity leave. It's so good to get in the habit of being aware of your numbers and knowing what's going on. And I know it can be a little bit scary or discouraging if you look at your numbers and you're spending more than you want and you're not bringing in as much as you want. But if you know that, then you could do something about it. If you don't know that, you're just going to kind of go based on feelings and not clear data. All right, so here's what you need to do. First, you're going to calculate your monthly expenses. So start with your business expenses. You can pull up your profit and loss statement. If you are not used to running a P&L report, take a look at your accounting software. I personally use QuickBooks, but there's so many other programs. There's usually a report section. You click the report section and run a P&L report. Now, you could do this a couple of different ways. You could either run for the entire year and then divide those expenses, by 12 to get your monthly expense. Or if your business expenses tend to be pretty predictable and you've been in business for many years, you could run the report for the 3 months that you intend to take off. Because sometimes the expenses can change from month to month depending on the season of the business. Other businesses are pretty consistent from month to month, regardless of the time of year. So you want to get a snapshot of your business expenses per month for the period of time that you're going to be off. Then you're going to want to do the same thing for your personal expenses. Write out your rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities, insurance, subscriptions, anything you pay regularly. Also, be sure to factor in your baby expenses. So there's going to be diapers. If you're not nursing, perhaps formula. And I also want to mention, I thought I was going to nurse, but I had a really difficult time, so I ended up formula feeding. So there's also those kind of unexpected costs where you're like, oh, I'm going to nurse. That won't be an expense. And then you're like, oh, I'm not producing enough milk. I guess I do need to purchase formula. And trust me, that's quite an expense. It's always better to overestimate your expenses than underestimate and then run into an issue where you don't have enough money. So once you add everything up, you now have a clear number. And this is the minimum amount you want to try to bring in each month to cover your expenses during your leave. So this is where you can set a financial goal. I always recommend aiming for a number that's higher than your actual expenses so you can account for unexpected costs. Or better yet, hopefully there's money left over and you can save a little extra. Also, look into financial aid options. Some states have state-based paid leave programs, so look into your particular state and see if they offer any self-paid leave and whether or not you qualify. If you're not pregnant yet, you could also look into short-term disability insurance. This could help you supplement your income, but I'm 99% sure that if you're already pregnant, you can't purchase a disability insurance policy. It has to be done prior to getting pregnant. Keep in mind, though, that if you currently have employees or you plan to have employees in the future, you're setting a precedent. So if you say invest in disability insurance, but then you cancel it just before an employee has to take a leave, that's not a good look. So just keep in mind, is this something that you could sustain even after you return? Could you provide the same type of aid to an employee? If any of this feels overwhelming, please DM me on Instagram at the Blissful Mompreneur. I really love this stuff and I would be more than happy to help. This really is one of my favorite steps because it puts you in control. Instead of fearing your expenses, you're creating a plan to not just cover them, but to set yourself up for more financial security than ever before. Which takes us to step 3, setting up reliable revenue streams. So this is where I want you to start thinking outside the box. If you have multiple revenue streams, what if you double down on your most profitable one and focused all your efforts on doubling, tripling, or even quadrupling that revenue before your leave? Could you increase your prices? Could you create a high-value bundle and then position it as a limited time offer? Do you have an offer that you launch at certain times of the year that you could shift to evergreen so it generates income consistently? Could you create a subscription or membership to generate recurring revenue? Could you create a digital product, a course, and sell one of those on evergreen? Something that provides value that you can set up ahead of time so that it doesn't require your time while you're on leave. If you own or rent space, could you rent out or sublet a portion of your space? If you have equipment, could you rent the equipment? I'm throwing a lot of ideas at you because everyone's situation is a little different. Every business is a little different, but please don't think you need to do all of these. Pick 1 or 2 strategies that make sense for your business and go all in. If you try to do too much, you'll spread yourself too thin, and then you won't get the best results. But if you focus on just 1 or maybe 2 revenue streams and really optimize them, you'll generate far more income with far less stress. Focus on working smarter, not harder. The work you do here will set you up beautifully for when you return to work and then have to manage motherhood with entrepreneurship, because that is a whole new challenge. But when you have income streams that continue running with little to no effort from you, you have room to redefine how and when you want to work. Which brings me to step 4, which is automating and delegating. So you want to systemize and automate everything you can. As you create or optimize your revenue streams, I want you to constantly be thinking, how can I systemize this? How can I automate this? If you have a membership or subscription service, ensure everyone is set up on autopay so payments process seamlessly. If you're selling digital products or an evergreen course, set up an email funnel that automatically nurtures potential buyers and guides them to purchase without you having to be involved in real time. If you're pre-selling services before your leave, schedule automated email reminders and follow-ups to keep customers engaged while you're on leave. For marketing and communication, you'll use scheduling tools to batch and pre-schedule content, emails, and social media posts. Then you want to start to delegate. So hire either a VA, a subcontractor, or team member for manual tasks. Even with automation in place, some tasks will still require a human touch. That's where delegation comes in. And this may only be for a little bit longer, because with the way AI is going, you may be able to provide that human touch with AI, which is just incredible. But I don't feel like we're totally there yet. And having that human touch is still really, really important in business. So think about the tasks that can't be automated but don't require you specifically to do them, like answering client emails, managing customer inquiries or support requests, handling failed payments or tech issues, responding to comments or DMs on social media. This is where hiring a VA, subcontractor, or team member can help. If you don't already have support in place, now is the time to bring someone on. That way you can train them and test the systems before you leave. Plus, if you start getting help now, it frees up your time to do some other things. So if you were to hone in on one income stream and then focus on optimizing it, maybe if you don't have the support, you can only double it. But then if you get the support, maybe that's when you can quadruple. And now when you go on your leave, you already have so much more consistent revenue coming in. This is really where you create that stress-free maternity leave. Once everything is set up to run without you, you can truly unplug and be present with your baby. Now that we've set up income streams, automated systems, and delegated tasks, let's optimize even more by cutting unnecessary expenses. The less money going out, the more money you get to keep. So cut those non-essential business expenses. Go through all your subscriptions, softwares, and tools. If you're not actively using something, cancel it. Ask yourself, is this expense actually necessary, or is it just nice to have? Also, negotiate lower rates on what you keep. So call your internet provider or softwares that you use or service providers and ask for a better rate. Many companies will offer a promotion or discount, especially if you say that you're thinking you may have to cancel. Every year when my QuickBooks renewal comes up, I call the cancellation department, and 99% of the time they suddenly find a promotion and I save sometimes as much as 50%. You also want to do the same thing with your personal expenses. Cut back on things like dining out, entertainment, or memberships you no longer use. If a service offers a discount for paying annually, instead of paying monthly, switch to paying annually. As I mentioned before, the less money that goes out means you get to keep more of that money, and then there's less pressure for you to earn more. And then whatever is left over, you get to save. And honestly, this is something that I do all the time. I'm always looking for ways to negotiate better rates, switch to more affordable programs, and eliminate unnecessary expenses. The more you cut, the more money you keep. Now that we've optimized your expenses, let's move on to the final step, which is making sure you're actually paying yourself while you're on leave. A lot of business owners take random, inconsistent payments. They draw money from the business account if there happens to be money left over after paying expenses. But that approach makes it really hard to manage your personal finances, especially when you're on maternity leave. Instead, set up an automatic paycheck. Transfer a set amount to yourself every week or bi-weekly, just like a regular paycheck. What's so great about this is it creates predictability and ensures you're actually paying yourself, which you should be, because you started this business for both time and financial freedom. But if you're only paying yourself when there's money left over or working around the clock, that's not giving you freedom. So it's very easy to do. Based on your revenue and expenses, calculate how much you can consistently pay yourself each week or every other week. And then set up an automatic transfer from your business account to your personal account, weekly or bi-weekly, whatever works better for you. If this concept is new to you or you want to dive deeper, I highly recommend reading Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Your business exists to support you, not the other way around. Setting up an automatic paycheck ensures that you are prioritizing yourself, not just covering expenses and leaving yourself whatever's left over. When you treat yourself like an employee and pay yourself consistently, it helps you manage your household budget and gives you more financial peace of mind. And there you have it. You now have a full plan to financially prepare for maternity leave. Let's do a quick recap. So step 1, you're going to visualize your maternity leave. Plan ahead and give yourself more time than you think. Step 2, do a financial analysis. Know your numbers, get comfortable with your numbers, calculate your expenses, and set a financial goal. Step 3, set up reliable revenue streams. Focus on 1 or 2 key income streams to bring in money while you're on leave. Step 4, automate and delegate. Systemize as much as possible and bring in support where needed. Step 5, reduce and simplify expenses. Cut unnecessary costs and negotiate better rates to keep more money in your pocket. And step 6, set up an automatic paycheck. Pay yourself on a regular schedule, just like an employee, so you're not left scrambling. And here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Maternity leave as a business owner is possible. You do not have to choose between making money and taking time off. You don't have to figure it out all at once. Just start by taking one step today, and then each day take another step. And if there's a day that you're not feeling up to it, that's okay. Rest, listen to your body, and then get back to it the next day. What I love so much about this time in your life where you start to set up your business for maternity leave is that it starts to create a stronger, more sustainable business. And that's going to serve you as you're trying to juggle the craziness of motherhood with entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Blissful Mompreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a fellow mompreneur who might benefit from the advice. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and leave a comment below letting me know your biggest takeaway. It helps me reach more amazing women just like you. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, keep pursuing your bliss.